Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 23-year-old Florida man Caleb Berry became a member of the Oath Keepers in November of 2020, specifically because of the election results. Berry said he, quote, felt that the Constitution was being ignored and wanted to do something about it. So in an Oath Keepers group chat, Berry wrote, quote, with the dishonesty in this election, we reach further and further to the brink of no return. I'm fighting for the future of my family and my children, for their children. I'll die for it. So Berry joined his fellow Oath Keepers in planning for January 6th. They had created group chats that were specifically for that purpose, for January 6th. Things like DC Op, January 6, 21. And in these groups, they were discussing what kinds of weapons to bring, what kind of gear to take with them to DC. And as you all know, they coordinated what's known as a quick reaction force, a QRF, of members who would stay behind at a nearby hotel, and they all had their weapons stashed there. And so they were available, these people who stayed behind, they were available to get to the Capitol within minutes if necessary. Well, one of the group's leaders ominously told a Facebook friend, quote, the natives are very restless. Tell your friend this isn't a rally. So on January 6th, Berry marched to the Capitol. He was with some of the other members of the group, and Berry admitted that the leader, which was Kelly Meggs, told them, they all huddled up, and Kelly Meggs told them that they were, quote, going to try to stop the vote count. At a trial for another Oath Keeper, Berry confessed to feeling, quote unquote, scared when Meg said this, but, quote, we could do it as a group. So they proceeded to get into a stack formation, and they walked up the Capitol steps in a single file. They each had their hands on the other one's back, and Berry and the others pushed past the police. They forced their way into the building. The Oath Keepers then split into two groups, and Berry joined in with the group that headed towards the House side of the Capitol. So they were searching, he said, for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Eventually, the police were able to force everybody out. They forced the Oath Keepers and other people out of the building because they deployed pepper spray. And on January 7th, while he was on his way home from D.C., Berry did a factory reset on his cell phone. He deleted all of the data that was on his iPhone, and that included encrypted messages with some of his co-conspirators. And Berry later admitted that, yeah, I did this to destroy evidence. He also confessed that when people like Oath Keeper founders Stuart Rhodes wrote things like, quote, if Trump fails to act, then we will, he knew that that meant that the Oath Keepers would need to, quote, fight against the federal government. Still, he said he wanted to take part in what Rhodes planned, which was to, quote, scare the shit out of Congress. So Berry was charged in July of 2021, but before the FBI arrested him, he had already confessed. He had already agreed to take a cooperation deal. So Berry pleaded guilty to and was officially charged with obstructing an official proceeding and conspiracy. So based on those combined counts, Berry faced up to 25 years in prison, 6 years of probation, and $500,000 in fines. However, the prosecutor asked for only 3 years of probation and $2,000 in restitution. And this is due to the fact that they said he provided a great deal of information to the FBI, which they used to prosecute other Oath Keepers. And Berry also testified against other members of the group. So he testified in 2 different trials. And the prosecutor told the judge, quote, Berry's testimony was significant. His testimony about the huddle among members of the stack, one when they reached the Capitol grounds, in which Meggs told the group that they were going to go inside the Capitol to stop the vote count, provided direct evidence of the intent of the group as they started marching up the steps of the Capitol. Such evidence was not available from any source other than those present for the huddle. They also said that Berry, quote, literally soaked his clothing with sweat during his testimony, and he was physically sick after he finished with his 6th cross-examination during the Parker trial. And, quote, this court should give Berry credit for the danger and risk of injury to himself and to his family, and the actual harm to his mental health that resulted from his cooperation in this case. So Berry spoke briefly at his sentencing hearing. He referred to his actions as foolish. He said that he would regret this for the rest of his life. And Berry said that he was grateful for the charges against him because he said it gave him a, quote, stern wake-up call and pushed him off a, quote, path of radicalization. So U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta presided over Berry's case, and at the sentencing hearing, he said, quote, what people fail to understand that Mr. Berry got, he seemed to get it pretty quickly, is that this wasn't just about marching up a set of stairs. What this was about was to violently prevent the laws of this country from being executed. The reality is the American people owe you a debt of gratitude. He did what was right. He did what was honorable. He did what was decent. So in the end, Judge Mehta gave the prosecutor their wish, and so Berry was sentenced to 3 years of probation and $500 in restitution. I am ambivalent in regard to this case. Yes, he was willing to go along with a violent plan, but I will say he was only 19 when all of this went down, and he did step up. He did take responsibility. He testified against his fellow Oath Keepers, definitely helped to secure the lengthy sentences that they received. And consider this, he showed more courage, he had more honor than any of these former military members in the Oath Keepers. These are people who swore an oath to protect our country. They swore to defend the Constitution, and in the end, he did. And he is not a member of the military. He never served. So that tells you something about his character versus theirs. So anyway, I will let you all know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.